Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Bledisloe Cup 3, obviously between the Wallabies and the All Blacks, hosted over there in Perth, a place where the All Blacks lost last time out. They're over there as they picked up a red card to Scott Barrett. This time we had another red card to Barrett, but not Scott. It was a different one that picked up the red card this time. And also because we are playing the experimental law of the 20-minute red card, it wasn't a man missing for the whole of the second half like there was last time. He got replaced after 20 minutes. And the All Blacks weathered that time extremely well. As you can see in the ticker along the bottom, the score finished 21-38. With the All Blacks winning this one comfortably. Early on, you've got to say there was a couple of early breaks that looked like the Wallabies went close. Unfortunately for them, Karevi was well offside when he picked up that ball for the break. You can't reach backwards to pick up the ball at a ruck. I know someone was said in Twitter, but he had his hand on the ball the whole time. Well, if he did, then that's hands in the ruck, in which case it's a penalty for that. Instead, it's one. So either way, that was the correct decision in the end, as Corabetti went all the way to put the ball down on the line. And that gave us an idea as to what kind of rugby we were going to have, with lots of running in this one. With 651 metres to Australia, 532 to the All Blacks. There was plenty of rugby played. Now, there are also plenty of kicks, 27 kicks to 36, but it's a style in how you kick and what you do with it afterwards that is important. The All Blacks tried going to the corner early on and it didn't work. So they did the right thing and started taking threes to build up a bit of a lead. Artie Surveyor having a really good game, playing out there on the right wing, showing you the sort of skills that we saw from him as a sevens player, that ability to run in space and get the ball away. That is a he is starting to grow into that role, and also the All Blacks using him in the best way. The way you use him compared to the way you use someone like Frizzell is very different if you want to get the best out of them. Very, very well played there, and getting the balance of that back row now is starting to gel. And after 40 minutes, look, the Wallabies basically up to that point, two things were killing them: turnovers and discipline. At half time, the Wallabies had already given up 10 penalties to 6 from the All Blacks. It got a lot better in the second half. Ended up being where they only gave up 2 penalties in the second half, 12 in total, compared to 10, so 4 from the All Blacks in that second half. But those penalties in that first half, along with turnovers, they just were trying to force the ball from the beginning. In the second half, that would lead to interception tries. In the first half, though, be a bit different to that, they weren't interception tries, but they were still turning the ball over. That led to the first try, where turnover ball, Geordie Barrett grubs it through. Will Jordan, showing his pace, gets through there, picks it up, and immediately passes it on to Webber, who's also quick and who gave that to Geordie, who had enough pace to go over and score. And suddenly it's 13-0 after 18 minutes. Now, one of the tweets I put out at that point is that this All Black side a lot of it is about pace. We saw that also in those first couple of minutes, where the person who was tackling Corabetti at the back there was Geordie Barrett. One of the things that you don't talk about him much, what we're talking about is should he be the right 10 or not, is his defensive work, and the fact that the amount of chasing back he does and scramble defence. And that's what the All Blacks did a lot in this one. If you think that clean breaks, 7 by Australia, 8 by New Zealand, and yet the try count was 3 to 6. So similar number of clean breaks, but nowhere near the same number of tries in that one. Good evening to Simon, who's joining us on the live chat. Remember, these post-match reaction shows come out straight after the final whistle of the games. We'll be doing it for all of the Rugby Championship games going forward. So do keep it right here for those ones. Yeah, we're going to get on to the red card in a second, boys, because we're not quite up to there yet. A lot of say had another day which he'll want to forget. Kicking in front of sticks was poor. Then again, so was Geordie Barrett and Dane McKenzie. Dane McKenzie missed two towards the end. 38% kicking success rate for the All Blacks. Really poor one on that one. Then let's get to the red card then. So what happened? There was a kick that was fielded by Geordie Barrett. He jumped up to collect the ball, raising his knee in front of him as they're taught to do to protect themselves. Then to balance himself, he sticks his leg out, and that raises the studs in the air, and they catch Karevi in the face. Now, a lot of people saying, look, there was no intent. He wasn't looking. He didn't look at Karevi. And yes, very different to something that happened in Super Rugby a couple of years ago, where the player actually kicked out. This one, he is doing it to balance himself. Yes, there isn't intent to put the studs in someone's face, but he does show his studs. And you've got to keep the studs looking straight down at the ground at all times. If you raise the studs, it's reckless. If it catches someone in the face, then intent is not part of the lettering, it's not part of the law. So intent doesn't matter. You have put your foot in someone's face, and it's a red card all day long. A lot of people, we're talking about, look, it wasn't intentional, it was an accident, blah, blah, blah. Yes, it was, but you can't lift your studs. You got to keep your studs facing down at the ground, and that's why it ended up being a red card. Will he get a big ban? No, he's not going to get the 6 weeks that the other guy got. So yes, it's but he will get some sort of ban. LB says in the live chat that his knee was already out. He didn't need to put the boot out. I think it was a balancing thing for the boot to stop himself from spinning. He got unlucky that there was someone there. I don't think it was intentionally to fend off anybody on that one. So that's was that. Now the Wallabies were unable to take advantage of being a man up and gave up a line-out maul try on half-time. Havili getting involved in the maul and stealing a forwards try there. I think he'll be fined with a few beers afterwards for doing that. But so for that one, we will. So that led to an 18-0 lead at half-time. And look, after about the first 3 or 4 minutes when the Wallabies didn't score, it was all Blacks really in that first half. Even though the Wallabies had more of the territory in possession, they never felt like actually scoring. And you've got to say that the All Blacks from there never really looked like losing this game. The All Blacks lost a couple of players. They lost Ardy and Ardy Surveyor and Cody Taylor to HIAs. On that one, I say they survived that 20-minute period where they were down to 14 men, winning it 5-0. As soon as DMAC comes on, and that's when the Wallabies get their first try. McDermott makes a great break, and they show good ball retention to go over and score with the hooker there. McDermott had a great game. A real find for the Wallabies this year is his ability to break and to keep defence guessing and honest around that ruck. At that point, John Wright says, Wallabies' problems take way too long to get their game going. Well, you can argue with that Corabetti putting the ball down on the line in the first minute, that they actually got their game going straight away. The problem was that they just couldn't keep it going. Although they could, that wasn't the score, and then they couldn't keep it going. Once they were behind, they're always chasing the game. Too much through this, they were just forcing that pass. But in the second half, they cleaned up their discipline, as I mentioned. Only 2 penalties conceded by the Wallabies in that second half, which meant the second half, what they scored, that they actually won the second half 21 to 20. A much closer, obviously a very close game in that second half. But the All Blacks already had the a 3-score lead, had the Wallabies at holding them at arm's length, and they never looked like coming back to actually win the game, because as soon as that try was always going to score, the All Blacks come back and score. With Jordan walking over in the corner after Akira Iwani doing some real good work out wide there. As Nocturnal says, looking a real threat out wide. He is, as I say, using that sevens skills that he has and his ability to run in and loose is is using him the right way. And for too long, they've tried to use him up the middle. Yes, he's a big, powerful runner, but if you get him out wide, the pace he's got, and yet smaller guys, he really does take advantage of that. D-Mac went over to score, but he knew already that he knocked it on into Bowden Barrett and therefore that one got called back. But that we just saw then was just those turnovers and interceptions were just killing the Wallabies as they tried to push and push more. Look, we had a similar number of offloads by the teams: 13 by the Wallabies, 12 by the All Blacks. Now, the difference was that the Wallabies would make a break, get through. There'd still be All Blacks in that backfield, and they'd try and offload, and then All Black would pick it up. When the All Blacks did it, it was when they generally hadn't broken the line, but they'd at the line and offloaded. So there were no Wallabies, no defenders in that backfield, and therefore the ball. Therefore the ball was clean for an All Black. There was no Wallabies hands there, and that was the difference about making that choice as to when you make those offloads was big. Now, the stats say 14 to 12 on the turnovers conceded, so slightly more by Australia, but the All Blacks just are so much more dangerous when they get that turnover. Look, I mean, Havili had an interception try. TJ also made an interception as well. He then put a crossfield kick in for Bridge to score. So 2 of those tries came from interceptions, and there's been at least one interception try every game of this Bledisloe Cup series. The Wallabies just trying to force those passes too much. And we saw you're getting locks doing missed passes or passing across 3 defenders before there's a Wallaby. They just don't have the skill set in the forwards to do that. They want to play that passing game. They want to play that all-court game. Some of those forwards just don't have the skill set currently to pull that off, unfortunately. And that's what we're seeing is these interceptions coming from that. We had that Banks score at the end. Look, he's had some negative criticism about his play, but he went over under the post, carrying 3 players with him there, was playing right to the end. You can't fault the effort of this Wallabies team. They're wanting to play for Rennie. You just got a question, perhaps, they are trying to play too much rugby at times, and the wrong players are perhaps trying to play too much rugby, which I think is causing them these issues. So obviously we had those 3 players missing from the All Blacks in Sam Whitelock. Scott Barrett stepped up and played a very good game. Aaron Smith and Webber and TJ played good, but hey, replacing Aaron Smith is just not possible. And Bowden Barrett in for Richard Mwanga. Look, Bowden Barrett has got to improve his goal kicking if he's going to be the replacement 10. He's better defensively on that chasing back as part of a very pacey side, but Richard Mwanga's goal kicking is going to keep him in that number 10 jersey, I believe, if they can't if he doesn't improve on that. Let's have a quick look at some of the player stats. I mean, David Havili obviously picked up 2 tries, but again, it's the defensive work that he's been doing that's impressive. 12 tackles. Sure, he missed a couple, but 12 tackles by him. is more than all of the forwards except for Scott Barrett, who made 13, which is, you've got to say, he's doing an awful lot of work. Bowden Barrett, 11 tackles in there as well. He did a lot. Brodie Retallick with 11 as well. Both Bowden and Brodie missing just the one tackle in there. Ethan Blackadder came on, got through a lot of workload as well after Ardie Spare went off before half time, I think it was. So he had a good period and played very well. Over on the Australian side, well, look, Michael Hoop was the only person to make double digits tackles with 14. Look, he is their world-class player, isn't he? Let's be honest. And when he went off for that blood injury, blood bins get stitches in the head, you could tell they needed his leadership on there at that point to get them going in the right direction. There were just too many bad decisions being made at that point. On the attacking side of things, obviously a lot of meters by Tom Banks, but a lot of that was running the ball back from kicks, and same with Karevi and Korovetti. Karevi, didn't look like he'd been away. Had a really good game there in that one, which was a cracking game from Karevi, who's come back. And look, it's going to be difficult now for Rennie as to what is his first choice centre combination. It's going to be really interesting to see how they do that. And 21 runs by Karevi, massive workload on attack from him there in that one. Rieko Ioane, looking at home on the wing there, isn't he? Is he going to be a winger? Is he going to insist on trying to play that 13 jersey? We'll have to see going forwards, because looking good and dangerous, Rieko out there on the left wing. Amazing enough, Bowden Barrett didn't actually run with the ball much at all. 0 meters made with 4 runs, it says on here. I'm not sure if that's entirely true, but he was much more a distributor and also getting back with his work on defence rather than on attack in that one, which is a bit of a strange one. Look, Lolosio and Banks, it's the technical, it's the basic skills, isn't it? That we've got to talk about these with the Wallabies. They've got to get their kicks right. They've got to get those passes right. So that's my summary of the game. John is joining us after he's been watching the post-match interviews. So, John, so I've run through the game and most of it already, but just give us your overall thoughts of the game. Any sort of particular players you want to call out?
Call out or commend?
Well, you can call them out in a good way or in a bad way. That's up to you.
Akira Ioane, deserved man of the match.
Yep.
All credit to him. He really seems to have turned it around on a number of levels: attitude, dedication, training, fitness, and he's realizing the immense talent that he has. I felt some years ago that he was the more talented of the two brothers, but it appeared that attitude and entitlement was holding him back. And tonight,
the way the All Blacks are using him, putting him out in the wing, playing him in that kind of sevens role where he's got space to use his pace, use his power. Yes, he's a powerful runner, but by putting him out wide where he can use that pace one-on-one against a smaller man, I think they're playing him to his strengths now rather than playing him up the middle, which wasn't to his strengths, and asking him to put work rates in around the ruck. That's not his strengths. His strengths are that kind of seven style play that he can bring out wide, I think.
Well, look, I agree with you that I don't play him down the middle, but they do play him in a channel. And so when the rucks are on the right, so he was doing devastating runs on the right when the open side was on the right, but when the rucks were in that right-hand side of the field, his defense was really good, and his physical impact was very good in the tight when the rucks were on that channel that he's playing in. So all round, his skills everywhere were outstanding. So tackling, covering, running with the ball, offloading, really everything that you would want for a blindside flanker. And I can't think off the top of my head whether he took any line-out ball. That's just a thing, if Savia is playing 8, who is going to give you your third line-out jumper? That's just your question, So from that perspective, I'm not sure. So Ardie Savea, excellent. I thought Geordie Barrett was brilliant in the way he handled the game. He didn't have the same service that he would have got from Aaron Smith. He didn't have bad service because he had a dominant forward pack, but he didn't have the same crisp service that sort of top of the tree that you would have from Aaron Smith. But he controlled the game, and there were tries that were created simply because of, number one, his vision, number two, because he takes the ball so flat, and number three, because of his skills, his ability, having taken the ball so flat with so little time, having already decided what he's going to do to be able to execute it. And the try by Bridge, was it Bridge?
No, by his brother.
Where he put the little grubber in, right?
Yep. So that was So it went through to Will Jordan. He picked it up, passed it to Weber, who gave it to Geordie Barrett, who scored next to the post. Yep.
Yes. So that is a brilliant. He saw that space before he got the ball. He took the ball flat, drifting to his left, and then put the grubber through with the inside of his left foot. One of at least 3 kicks off his left foot that I can recall in general play. And for a right-footed kicker, outstanding. So I thought his control of the game, he's a whole different package of trouble to Mwanga. I thought the All Blacks defense was outstanding, as you heard the commentators say. I thought their ability to play to the ref was far, far better at the contact and the breakdown than the Wallabies. So the ref was very intent on pinging the ball carrier for not releasing and not allowing contesting over the ball, particularly
in the first half. The Wallabies adapted well to it in the second half, but particularly in the first half. Yeah.
Yes, but what he was allowing, it was his interpretation. I'm not saying he did it unequally on both sides, but what he was allowing was the tackle player on the ground was getting away with, while lying on the ground, he was having a hand on the ball, lying on the ground. He would have one hand on the ball and just slow the ball for between a second or 2 seconds. And then he would say release, right? And then the guy would, but there was just one hand. And what the All Blacks were doing really well was in the tackle, going to ground, and they were quite dominant in the tackles as well. They were strong in the tackles generally, especially among the forwards. They would go to ground, they have a hand on the ball, they tackle, they get one hand on the ball, hold it, one, and off. And the Wallabies were not doing that. They weren't slowing down the All Black ball in the same way. I mean, that's really good play. Who else to commend?
I think Rico on the wing was.
Those are the ones that really stand out for me. Havili was very good as well. Very, very good. Right.
But I mean, so was Karevi, who came back in his first game.
Oh, sorry, I'm just talking All Blacks. Yeah. From the Wallabies, Karevi is absolutely world class. And Michael Hooper, you know, if you saw the interview that he gave, his face just bore the scars of where he takes his body for his team and his country. And he is the only truly world-class player that they have among their forwards. And I really feel for him. I really do, because he's up the creek without a paddle, because his type 5 is just nowhere. So, and
we've got to also got to remember that type 5, apart from a couple of the props, is also extremely inexperienced with less than 10 caps. So I mean, it is what
it is. I mean, but you know, this is how it's been for 20 years, since probably 03, 05 maybe. It's at least 15 years at the Wallabies. You know, it's just one thing they just don't have forwards, world-class forwards.
They do, but they tend to be playing overseas.
Sorry?
They do, but they tend to be playing overseas. in players like Will Skelton is now a very good player. Rory Arnold was very good, but unfortunately, So it's a problem of retention of players long enough that when they get the experience, they stay there, but they keep losing them. So the change in starting to select some of the overseas players, like Karevi, who's in Japan, it's going to be interesting to see how that works. Yep.
Well, it's just, if you look across the entire Wallaby forward pack, across all of them that they have, you would only pick Hooper into the All Black squad, wider squad. You would only pick Hooper into the Springbok wider squad. And when you look at that, there's such a difference between the two forward packs. Rugby is won and it is lost in the tight five.
Yep.
Right. So the two top tight five countries over the last 100 years are the All Blacks and the Springboks, and the All Blacks have a better backline, and they've been the world's best. So, but if you cannot have parity in the forwards, then you're going to have a situation where you play for 20 minutes against 14 men, and they refuse to kick the ball to you, and they just keep the ball, but they have so much better forwards that they end up at the end of the 20 minutes one man down with 5 more points than you. They increase the lead by another 5. I mean, that just shows you how poor the Wallabies actually are, capital-wise. I think Rennie really messed up. I think he needed to pull that youngster early doors at 10. I see why you don't want to destroy him going forward. You don't want to destroy, but he needed to be pulled, right? It wasn't.
And the problem is that's the second game on the trot. We've seen that from him as well.
Yeah,
we saw the same thing at Eden Park. So it's he needed to have the right conversation with him ahead of time about how if he was struggling, he'd get him out of there. And he didn't. Now Reece Hodge isn't a full-time 10, but they look better with him there than without.
We have to talk about Geordie Barrett.
Yep.
Right. We've had a long discussion on our thread amongst us, and some disagreements about it. I just want to say this: as a rugby player, including a current rugby player, what he did is stupid. If you do that in a club rugby game in New Zealand, Australia, England, doesn't matter, you do that, your own team and your own captain is going to take you aside and say, excuse me, where is your mind? That is unbelievably stupid. I cannot remember seeing a player, a fullback or a wing, receiving a ball, going up with the knee up like this, which is what they do, completely acceptable, jump up with the knee out in front, right, to protect yourself. And then while they're up in the air, let me just open let me just...
Look, I think the red card was absolutely the correct decision. But I do think that he did that to try, it was a balancing issue. I think he was over-rotating, and he did that to try and stop it so he came down straight. Now, should he do it? No, he shouldn't. He needs to get his technique right. Yes.
This is not club rugby at the park. This is at the highest level, right? I'm telling you now, there are certain things that rugby players that are considered beyond the pale, right? Kicking somebody in the head.
It was red. It's fine.
Biting, eye gouging, foot up, studs at head high is a complete no-no. If you are over-rotating and you want to do that, well, then turn. If you are going over backwards, turn this way, right, in the air. The point is you cannot lift your foot up like that, right? It is stupid. And the whole thing that in the lead up to this game, Geordie Barrett was getting his shot at this position. And they were looking, they said, for how calm he would be and how good his decision-making was, unlike what we saw under pressure against the Springboks 2 years ago or 3 years ago, when he gifted a try, quick line-out throws, not making calm decisions. And that is exactly what they were looking for him to avoid. It was absolutely and it is exactly the kind of thing that needs to be addressed very visibly and very noticeably, so that any mothers that see that know that that is completely unacceptable. And
we totally agree. Yeah, let's move on from it now. But that's the right call, and he shouldn't be doing it. Absolutely. Thank you for joining me, John. I think we covered most of the bits off, or the key points off there. From that,
one thing, their coaching, the All Black coaching was outstanding. When they went down to 14 with no fullback, they completely changed their game plan. They knew exactly what to do. They obviously had been drilled for that scenario, right down to the point of when you lose a fullback with the new rules. And suddenly, even on their own 22, they refused to kick the ball. So you would think, first thought, we're under pressure, no fullback, hoof the ball. Right, let's get out of here because we're one man down. No, they kept the ball. They trusted their forward superiority to hold the ball. And by doing that, by not kicking the ball to the opposition, even at the other end of the field, they didn't allow Australia to expose the fact that without a fullback behind their defensive line, there would always be a hole because there's no fullback here. So if they kick the ball to Australia and they come up to defend, Australia has the ball here. It's a bit difficult on the camera, and then can control a point of attack, and there's always a hole. So they never gave Australia the ball. And
even when they had the defensive scrum, they trusted their pack to go down to 7, and put Kiriwani or Arnie Sphere, I can't remember which one it was, into the back in the backfield with the backs. So yeah, absolutely. That you say very well drilled, knew exactly what to do. There was no panicking.
And so you're seeing a whole bunch of players with increased depth just put Australia to the sword, including, due to stupid decision, playing for 20 minutes with 14 men. A superb. You're starting to see the decisions and the coaching, and will the All Blacks get credit for not only how well they were coached? Will the coaching staff get credit for the turnaround in Akira Ioane? These are not popular things in New Zealand. Those of you who are listening, who in New Zealand know what I'm talking about. Those who aren't, it's a popular line of discussion to disparage Ian Foster as a coach. It's not popular to say that he's doing a good job. It's not popular to say that he's lost a group of players that left at the end of this last cycle and the previous cycle that were as good as the world has ever seen, and that he's actually doing a great job. It's not popular to say that. So it's not popular also to say that Geordie Barrett is the more dangerous number 10. And these are not popular discussion points. There's a thread here. So I thought that those things were evidenced in this game. But then, I speak as a semi, what's the word I'm looking for? A semi-detached. That sounds like something in Knightsbridge, semi-detached.
Property in the UK.
Upper Wapping.
I'll agree with you. Yes, the Ian Foster won't get credit for it, but he should do, as you say, on those points. Is Ian Foster stepping out from Hansen's shadow in the way he's doing things? I'm not sure about that, but I do think that he won't get credit for tonight. But as you say, good coaching performance from him, not just in this game, but as you say, also with development of players like Kiriwani on that one. We're off the back now of a record win over the Wallabies last week in Eden Park, and this was a comfortable win, 18-0 at half time. Never looked like losing it. but he probably won't get the credit. The players will. When things don't go right, he'll get the blame, not the players. So yeah, unfortunately, that's the way that it's going to be for him, and he's got to have to live with that.
And I think that the All Blacks may have found their 12. Yeah,
yep.
I think in David Havili, they found the 12s that they've been looking for since Ma'ananu left. As much as I enjoy George, not George Bridge, he's the one who's out, plays for Canada. What's it? Goodhue.
Jack Goodhue, yep.
I think that in Havili they have somebody who just has something, above and beyond.
I think you're being a bit harsh on Ryan Crotty, who kind of was sat there in that role, filled that role in the gap in the interim after Ma'ananu left. But yeah, agree with what you say. Yeah,
no, Crotty wasn't bad. I'm not saying Crotty was a bad player, but he didn't have that thing that Ma'ananu had. Also, he wasn't the head case that Ma'ananu was, but that special athletic something, and it looks like Havili, he's got it. He looks completely in the right place, unflustered, right decisions. Just it's looking good for that back line, I think. Yep. Outside of who they play at 10.
Looks like that. And yeah, looks like there's a bit of a log jam of players trying to play 13. This is all before Roger Tuivasa-Sheck comes in as well and displaces a player somewhere. But anyway, that's all from the game this evening, folks. Thank you, John, for joining me, and we'll be back next week when we have the Wallabies taking on the Springboks and the Pumas taking on the All Blacks, and we'll be doing post-match reactions to both of those games as well. It might be a bit of a rush on between the games for the first one, but we will endeavour to get through it as well. So thank you, John, and thank everyone who's joined us.
It was great to be with you. It was so great to see daytime rugby, and hopefully we'll get a daytime game next week as well. Yeah, good stuff, man. It was good. It was fun to watch, fun game to watch.
Very good game, yeah.